Hey. Sorry for any miscommunication, but we are here at 6:30 p.m. as always for Tempestagi Talk, your local eye on the Seattle Storm. Erica L. Ayala along with Roberta F. Rodriguez. And we have a lot to talk about, including, is Jade Melbourne a starter or a bench spark? Better suited as one, the other, both? Who knows? We'll talk about that and more on today's episode of Tempestagi Talk. Hey, we're glad you're here, Coach Huna. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna roll this
Oh, nice.
outdated. It's still outdated. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Intro. Well, we're gonna roll the intro and then get into the topics at hand. But as always, drop your comments, drop your questions, because we'll get to those in the fourth quarter. All right, here we go.
You have three people who are selfless like that, three people who are dangerously disciplined like that, and you have a coach that also embodies all of those characteristics. You can expect good basketball.
I love interacting with the fans. I'm excited for them to cheer for us because it's hell when you come here. I even welcome people that could be skeptical because it's new.
There's going to be a standard of excellence and discipline in everything that we do.
The Pacific Northwest, this area, how passionate they are. It's culture everywhere, but it's great culture here. That's what I want to be a part of, to compete for a championship. That's everybody's goal. And I think it's just how we go about things and habits that we create. I want to be around winners that'll help us get closer to that.
And that's what the fans can expect. And we're going to have some fun.
Hey, everybody. Tempestagi Talk. You know what's interesting, Roberta, is that so Neko Gumake now on the LA Sparks, but she was interviewed for the first ever USA basketball game of the season. And she used the word disciplined, and I was like, why does that sound so familiar? Oh, I'm right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
dangerously disciplined.
Yeah, I think that's Madam President word, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen many people miss Skylar.
Moni saying I tune in for the intro because I miss Skylar in Seattle. Well, listen, we're glad that you enjoy that. There's like one little thing that I did as far as like a graphic treatment that I'm like, ooh, we got to put that in the next one. But we're still working on it. And it's going to be original in more ways than one. So, but for now, Moni, we're glad that at least you are enjoying
Yes.
the old intro.
We're working on it. It was I was watching the Chicago Sky Golden State Valkyries game, and you got to see Skylar playing against Gabby, and then and they just like had a big hug before the game, and some fans were like, "Oh my God, good old times!" But they're thriving with their teams. Skylar is absolutely crushing it with the Sky. I have my take that the Chicago Sky will be a playoff team, but we can talk about that at another time. But yeah, that's one of my big hot takes. But yeah, both are thriving with their teams, even though the Valkyries are struggling a little bit. We are going to talk about this soon in this podcast because they lost to the Storm. But yeah, it's funny because every time now that we're 3 games in, I watch that intro and it seems like a lifetime away, doesn't it? It seems like a whole different time. It's just such a different team from top to bottom, from coach to players. It's been very interesting to cover this team. If we can start the podcast this way, just talking a little bit how it's been to cover the Storm for this first those love passes to Mila are gonna make I cannot wait for the Camila Dominic games. Cannot wait. Yeah. So covering the Storm this year has been different from all of the previous years. I mean, I have been in connected to the Storm since I moved to Seattle 2021. So by now that's my 5th season with them. And this team is different from every other Seattle Storm team that I have I have seen in the past years. And I do think it's the youth, not even as in their age, but the youthness of the team, the youngness of the team, the newness, I would say, the newness of what this team is. It seems like everyone is excited to build something new. It's almost like it's taking back to when Stewie and Drew Lloyd were drafted, and there were lots of new pieces on this. Excuse me, this new pieces on this team. So it's just been very interesting. I'm really enjoying covering Coach Sonia Raman. Flau'jae Johnson said in a post game that Sonia Raman is the smartest person she's ever known, and I gotta say that you have a conversation for us is like a scrum, you know. You ask the first answer, you can already see that her mind is working in so many different ways. You can almost like you can get that MIT energy coming from it, you know. So I do get what Flau'jae said about Sonia Raman being the smartest person she's ever been around. I get that vibe, that energy when talking to her. I think that she has been one of the it's been one of the most interesting coaches to hear. I think every time she talks, there is a very interesting insight. She does not hesitate to say a single sentence, and that doesn't. And you see coaches, you know, especially new coaches, they think to answer something, they take their time. Sonia Raman is just, there is a word that I like in Portuguese that is incisiva, which in Portuguese, in English, I don't think it's the same as, like, she is just so direct, but not as in like direct. She's so right about what she's doing. And I really admire people who have this level of confidence of just, it's not, you may not know if it's going to work, you may not know, but you are in full control of what you're doing. And I feel like that's what we see from Sonia Raman. She's very aware also. That's something that we talk a lot about, self-awareness. And when it comes to the state of the team, to what her players are doing and how the team is going, I see a lot of awareness. So
yeah, and we are gonna get more into this team here in a little bit, but I want to just say and go build off of what you were saying with Craig saying the personality of the coach. That's Sonia. She's positive, she's open. Tammy saying, I'm loving Sonia so far. Definitely seems to be the right hire for this group. Yeah, and I think that we're definitely going to talk more about this Seattle Storm team through what's a short cluster of games here. But first, we do want to start with a hot topic, because we're going to break down some stats, team stats throughout the episode. But we're going to start with individual stats, because I was looking at the individual stats, and Jade Melbourne is crushing it.
She is.
And it begs the question, and we want to have this as a conversation. You know, should she be starting, or is she better as a spark off the bench? Roberta, let's just break down some of her stats, right? Jade Melbourne right now, 14 points per game in 24 minutes per game. She already has top 5 minutes as far as all of the Seattle Storm players. But we haven't seen her start like we did necessarily in the preseason. Now, preseason is preseason, and it is what it is. But with her ability to average already nearly 20 points per game and already averaging over 20 minutes per game, Roberta, do you think it's a fair question to ask if she should be a starter?
Yeah, that is a fair question. And
excuse me.
If you excuse for a second, I think that's a hard question that it might need some hard liquor to go with it. because Erica has her drink, and I want to show you all what I got in the mail. So this is a Maker's Mark bottle, and it's the private selection that Kelsey Plum has with Maker's Mark. It's called Yam Jam, and I posted it on Twitter. It blew up, and they were like, "Hey, can we send you a bottle?" I was like, "Absolutely." So I worked with Maker's Mark once. This is not an ad. This is not paid or anything. It's just really cool. I gotta say that
not an ad, but we're open to it. Maker's Mark. Call me, beat me.
Exactly. So one thing that I find really cool is that, and I had a whole class about how Maker's Mark goes about making their bourbon. This is all crafted, and this wax is it's dipped individually in the assembly line, or I don't know if that's how you call it, but each bottle has its own thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this here because Erica has her drink, and I think that I need a drink. I was telling Erica that I haven't drunk anything since February.
Which is just her way of saying that this means I'm going to take her off screen several times.
So good. We should do like a drinking game. Every time that you'd get me off the screen, I take a shot.
A shot.
Oh my God, this smells so good. Like, I love the smell of whiskey. So the last time that I had a drink was at a date. And it was such a fun date that I didn't drink anymore after that. So,
well.
So
I mean, listen, we are nothing but transparent here on Think Pistache Talk.
Yeah, it was a good
day. Can I get a shot too?
Cheers, Erica.
Cheers. Salud.
Saúde in Portuguese.
Saúde. There you go. All right. What's the mouthfeel? So what's the taste? To let us know.
So I learned that when you drink the whiskey and the bourbon, you have to like, okay. One thing that I love about whiskey is just the aftertaste and just the smoothness. And Maker's Mark for me is the smoothest bourbon out there. I've tried a few, and I've tried several of their bottles. This one, it has. Let me get another one.
Oh yeah, just to make sure.
Yeah, so this is the last sweet of them that I've tried. Even though, so this is a stave chew, and the tones are vanilla, honey, and bright fruit, and I absolutely can feel the bright fruit taste because I don't feel the honey as much at first.
Craig says that's a big glass. It should be a
fun show.
The
storm is a
Y'all
fun.
already know we don't even need this to be entertaining. So
Yeah.
this is about to be wild.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. So I do taste more of a fruity taste with the first sip, and then with the smoothness after the burn, you feel the sweet of the honey. So I am a fruity person. I am fruity, but when it comes to candies and stuff, I always like the taste of I always like things a little more bitter and fruity. So I think this is the perfect combination. I love it. Thank you, Maker's Mark, for sending for sending this. I was
Moni. See, now I gotta get Moni off the screen. You're on timeout. You're on timeout.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to mention just about this. So Maker's Mark's partnering with Kelsey Plum, and they said they're teaming up with two-time WNBA champion and Olympic gold medalist Kelsey Plum. It's a limited edition, and it's going to be sold only in Los Angeles, but maybe if you nudge them, they might ship something. I mean, they shipped something to Seattle. So
I mean, listen, Think Pistache Talk has two hosts Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very
Yeah.
mucho.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, and they also so when Maker's Mark first reached out to me, it was for a partnership with Unrivaled. So they became Unrivaled's first spirit, and they flew me to Miami. It was such a fun experience. So they reached out they offered me an interview with Kelsey Plum, but Erica knows I don't have a computer right now, and I can write a story. But anyways, they really liked that I promoted it, and they were like, can we send you a bottle? I was like, absolutely. And yeah, here we are. So now that we are properly filled to talk about the Seattle Storm,
Let's
and
go. Now we're back
perhaps
at it.
come up with some hot takes. Should Jade Melbourne come off the bench? When I was thinking about this this situation, about this question, and as you watch the Storm, as we watched the Storm these first games, it is impossible not to ask yourself that. It is impossible not to be, okay, so Jade Melbourne seems to be leading in the backcourt. She seems to be thriving and perhaps even contributing more than Atisha Heidman. But I think one of the reasons for that is because she comes off the bench. One of the reasons for that is because the Seattle Storm has a very well catered bench in which Jade fits very well and she plays very well with. Natisha Heidman is an amazing guard to get things going. And I think she has been doing a really good job of finding the starter, the big starters in Dominique Malonga and Steph Dawson, and also distributing the ball. So I think that Natisha Heidman does that job very well of setting a pace for the game. And the pace that Natisha Heidman sets is one that Jade Melbourne can follow, not only follow, thrive. So I think that the way Natisha Heidman sets up the game sets up Jade Melbourne to succeed. And although I believe that eventually Jade Melbourne can be a starter in the WNBA, I think that starting from the bench benefits her and benefits the Seattle Storm because there is a second unit that plays really well with Jade's style. Jade is a playmaker and she's also a scorer. She is a good shooter and she drives very fast to the basket. That's something that she does really well. Now, she and Natisha Heidman have very similar play styles, and I think they complement each other.
Yeah.
And being similar on what they have to be and being different on what they have to be. So with Jade coming off the bench, she continues some of the work that Natisha Heidman has already been doing, and she supplements with what you need with Lexi Brown and Zaya
Yes.
Cook, who are coming off the bench.
And I think that's an excellent point because, I mean, since the beginning of starters versus reserve players, right, there's always been the conversation. Who should start? How should it go? Is it a punishment if you don't start? Is it a punishment if you start and then you're asked to come off the bench? And we've seen players, Kelsey Plum. Thank you, Kelsey Plum, for the Yam Jam. I'm still waiting on my bottle, but you know, no. But Kelsey Plum had an interview where she talked pretty honestly about when there were times for Vegas. She's a number one pick, and she has been asked to come off the bench. She's been asked to play off the ball. And I love, like, Plum Dog is one of my favorite athletes just because her tenacity is unmatched, but also so is her faith and her conviction in herself, in her beliefs. And so she struggled to be a team player, which you need when you're on a team, and also just to be a professional. But also she wanted to prove that she's starter quality, right? So we know that it can be a sore spot, right? It can be a sandpapery, you know, I love the term sandpaper. It can be a sandpapery topic. But, you know, Lynn Roberts, just to not to make it all about the LA Sparks, but Lynn Roberts is the coach in LA. And there's conversation about Cam Brink coming off the bench this season. And I love what Lynn Roberts said. And it goes to what you just talked about having the pace of the game be continual because of the second unit and strategically balancing the second unit, first unit, third unit, fifth unit, whatever the case is, or any other units. Let me stop. Any other units that we have out here. And I think that's critical. Lynn Roberts also said people are obsessed with starting, and I'm remixing what she said, but she was like, baby, you know what I'm obsessed with?
Winning. Yes.
Winning.
Yeah. No, this is a conversation that has been
Look,
on the
I have
spot.
a curl. Look at my alfalfa curl.
I love that. Sorry,
it was bothering me. Let me tuck it away real quick.
It's a conversation that, because of AZ-FUD, it has been a hot topic these past days because, AZ-FUD is the first number one pick to come off the bench since 2018. And who was that player that number one pick who did not come off, who was not a starter after being a number one pick? That was Kelsey Plum. So Kelsey Plum was not a starter when she was drafted, even though she went first. Neither was AZ-FUD. And so there is this conversation that she's not being set up to succeed. Why did the Dallas Wings even draft her? I mean, I understand the conversation, and I do think that the fan sentiment is valid. And I also think that some of this needs to be put into context. And in this case, it's the context of where is AZ-FUD playing and where she was drafted.
Well, right. And so the AZ-FUD conversation is interesting because earlier on CBS Sports, I talked about this with Alicia J. Go check it out. We Need to Talk Now. We did the show live on CBS Sports Network, but it should be up on YouTube by now. But so you're right. Technically, that's correct. And what do we also know about Kelsey Plum in her rookie year, a la Sabrina Ionescu, and a little different than Sabrina, but Kelsey Plum had a high-grade ankle sprain in the preseason.
Yes.
So Kelsey Plum, perhaps, especially on that San Antonio team. I mean, it was a lottery. It was a draft lottery team. Like, we can put that into context.
I remember that team.
She had reserved minutes because she was coming off of an injury. Now, is the AZ-FUD thing the same? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, because now we see that AZ-FUD, out of quote an abundance of caution, missed a game earlier this week. So I think there are some similarities, there are some differences. I think also, if I'm going to keep it a buck, Dallas, yes, what Craig is saying here, Dallas is stacked with vets. I don't know who they should have drafted and who would have started. That's a good point, because yes, they built in a way that really isn't conducive to any number one pick, perhaps getting significant minutes off the hop. But this is what I do know. Awa, there you go. Yeah, well, if they had taken Awa, she's not even available yet because Valencia is still playing. But so it wouldn't have mattered. No, but before we get back to Seattle, the point I want to make with Dallas is I think it's a convergence of a few things. Was she the right pick for Dallas's needs? Is this a league where if you have the number one pick, you play the number one pick? And if you listen to this podcast, I think you know what my answer is. But then the other thing is, and maybe the most salient thing for me, is that Dallas doesn't have a great track record in picking top 5 picks, and those top 5 picks making it to their third season in the WNBA. So they have picked players who burnt out when they had a top 5 pick. Lauren Cox, Charlie Collier, and I mean, the list goes on and on. So this is a little bit of the MO of Dallas. The difference perhaps is that this is a different WNBA, it's a different NCAA, and AZ-FUD has mega superstar power, and now you're doing what you did in all those years, which is why you've had so many, top 5 picks, and you're doing it with a UConn alum I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I have a lot of, exactly, Craig. They have a bad track record of drafting and roster construction.
Yeah,
So, is AZ Fudd a top pick? Yes, I can see that. Did I want AZ Fudd or anyone to go to Dallas? No,
yeah,
because they have historically not done a great job. And that's what Craig is saying here with roster construction and things of that nature.
yeah.
But let's take it back to Seattle, because I think this is a situation where it's a little different. You just gave a lot of praise. And that's why I was like, whoa, 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 hold the brakes. Because, you know, asking if a player should or should start, immediately people are like, oh, so do you think
Yeah.
the coach is bad? Do you think the coach? No, we don't think that. That's not what we're
No.
saying. I think what we're saying is Jade Melbourne, her stats are popping off the page.
Yeah.
Her impact is very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the season, it's a 1-2 team, but we know what Jade Melbourne is all about. I mean, she's already chipped a tooth for this team, you know?
My
So
God.
she's balling out. And I think it's a fair question to ask in a vacuum. But when you add all of the different elements, including knowing that this is a team that is looking to, like you said, not only get its true young, like rookie talent or young players in that they've been playing behind players. And in Seattle, if you're not a starter, good luck getting minutes. But prior to this season.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good season for a player like Jade Melbourne to show what she can do regardless of when she comes into the game. Because yes, do I think that starting matters? If Jade Melbourne or anyone else, we're not going to have expansion next year, but we will have it every year for 3 years after that, all the way up until 2030. So what I think is important is, as long as Jade and the coaching staff and the front office are in alignment, they're having a conversation, and maybe it does get to the point where Jade's impact, her ability to keep pace, it speaks for itself. So maybe she's not starting now, but maybe she does later on in the season. We've seen that with Leonie Fiebig, and the opposite side of that was Courtney Vandersloot started in New York, and then she came off the bench in their championship, in a championship run. So I think there's more fluidity, but it's a great question. It's one that people are going to ask, and that they should ask for Jade Melbourne. And does that mean with those stats, with what she's been doing, that maybe she starts somewhere else? Maybe, but she's on the Seattle Storm team. And if Jade is okay, if she understands her assignment, if she's committed to that assignment, and if it's still what is going to be best for the short term, or the immediate, intermediate, and long term, for the Seattle Storm, then does it matter?
Yeah, and I think there's a reason why there's an award that's called the Sixth Woman of the Year. And I think that early on, at least in this point, Jade is the top the top contender for this award. And a player that immediately comes to mind when it comes to starting someone who could be a starter but who thrives off the bench and has basically made a career out of it is Ellie Quigley. We have seen her play. She has had key roles in the teams that she has played. I think she only played she played for the Sun and the Sky. So especially with the Chicago Sky, she was so important coming off the bench. And I do think that this is it is a separated skill set to be a bench, to be a contributing bench player. Sometimes that makes a difference. And I also want to mention what we saw last year from Jewel Lloyd.
Yes.
Jewel Lloyd, who has always been a starter her whole career, she asked Becky Hammond to come off the bench because she felt that she could contribute more that way.
Yeah, so, good point.
What we have seen right now from Jade Melbourne, she has been, in my opinion, she is the Storm impact player, right? That's who she is for me. And her whole career, she has been a bench player. And we saw what she did last year with the Washington Mystics, and the way that she was able to make a difference when you had the second unit on. And I think that early on this season, we are already seeing her do that. I honestly believe that that's why she was brought to the Seattle Storm. I believe that has I never asked the question, is that the intention that was set for you from the start? Is that the expectation? If I had to guess, I would say that's the case, that she was brought into the Storm to be Natisha Hiedeman's immediate backup. And I think that what we're seeing now is what is happening. And it is something that the Storm needed. You have Natisha Hiedeman starting. Natisha Hiedeman is a veteran player. She sets a good pace for the game. She works well with Malonga. She works well with Stephanie Dawson. We're starting to see kind of a sync with Flau'jae Johnson, and Jordan Horston still trying to get her way back into playing into regular minutes. So I think the way that Natisha Hiedeman sets the pace, sets the tone for the backcourt, Jade Melbourne is able to follow up and bring her own flavor to it. So
I want to get your thoughts, and I know you alluded to Hiedeman just now and earlier, but Seymour Junior 11, I'm not trying to be a hater, and I know it's early, but man, I feel like Hiedeman has not looked like a starter in any of the 3 games. I mean, do you think that's accurate? Let's just set the scene here. Natisha Hiedeman has been a starter, but also a player, whether it's Connecticut, at times with Minnesota, has kind of been in and out. Never has had enough games playing off, or not never, but on the back end of her time in Connecticut, she didn't qualify for 6th Player of the Year because she had enough starts. She wasn't exclusively coming off of the bench, but we've seen her be a little bit of a hybrid starter, hybrid bench player. She's played alongside Courtney Williams, but remember, it was Courtney Williams that was the lead guard in Minnesota, and now Courtney Williams is happy to relinquish that role to Olivia Miles. So I think it's an interesting thing. You talk about Jade and in some ways maybe anchoring Natisha Hiedeman, but isn't that interesting, right? That Melbourne is kind of propping up Hiedeman. It's an interesting thing, and I've had questions about Hiedeman. I do think it's early, so I don't know if we can make a determination now. I do think Jade has made a stronger case for maybe us questioning things. Hiedeman, I think I use the term serviceable, right? Maybe it's not flashy, but honestly, I've said this before, there are not a lot of elite level true point guards in the WNBA for whatever reason. And I would not consider Natisha Hiedeman on that list, certainly not at this point in her career. Does that mean that she can't grow and evolve? Because I do think that in Seattle, she'll be given different, and is already being given different opportunity. But is this a situation where you could see, or where you even think Seattle could and should consider, if they get a different look with Jade Melbourne starting as opposed to Natisha Hiedeman?
I feel like this team is going to be constantly moving and changing, and I see a possibility of Jade Melbourne start. I understand more juniors' point, and I think that the way that Jade Melbourne has been showing up and has put up some numbers does immediately make you question Natisha's role, right? Because when someone is doing so well, you wonder why is the other person who is not doing that as well as them taking a role of being a starter. So I think that in one point, that's where the questioning comes from. Now, I do want to point that throughout Natisha Hiedeman's career, she has not been a double-digit average scorer. She has always had averages below 10 points. She has always been a role player, and she is being given a different role with this team. it's being very clear that she is to be the team's leader in general. The coach has talked about this. The players have talked about how Natisha plays a leadership role on this team, and the fact that she's a point guard has some weight on it. So I think that there is a reason that her start is intentional, and I believe that it is, for the reason that I've said this twice here today, and it is about setting the pace. This is a new Seattle Storm that is still figuring out the best way to play the game that they play effectively. We have seen the type of game, the type of pace they want to play with, but they're still not doing this effectively. And I think that Natisha Heidman, even though it's crazy because she is someone who plays with a fast pace. She plays very fast. But Jade is speed. That's Jade's name. She doesn't stop. I think she's all gas, no break. Natisha Heidman brings that break that's much needed because we have seen the team struggle with turnovers. We have seen how the Toronto Temple used the Storm's turnovers to score on fast breaks and win the game. So I think that what Natisha Heidman's bring is the perfect hybrid between the speed and she brings the control to the speed of the game. I think that Natisha Heidman has played enough time in the league, especially under Cheryl Reeve. I will never not put playing under Cheryl Reeve as a factor for someone to be successful. So playing under Cheryl Reeve and with Napheesa Collier has definitely taught her the pace of the league and how to manage that speed with efficiency, which, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about that at some point, has been the biggest struggle of the team, managing that speed that they want to play with. So
yeah, and I think that's a good point because I had the stats, y'all. I am tearing up this popcorn. It's just so good.
I have popcorn here too. Should I get? I got
mean,
the
you might as well.
one. We have like our beverages, you know.
I was like, I'll just have a few kernels, but like I don't know. I just really wanted popcorn today. Anyway, so when you look at the stats, Jade Melbourne and Natisha Heidman, 23.5 minutes in 3 games for Heidman, 23 minutes for Melbourne. Now Melbourne 14 points in those 23 minutes per game versus Heidemann 7.3. And then you're like, okay, well, what's happening on the other side of the ball? 3.7 assists. This is Heidemann, and I believe Melbourne is, yes, at 5. So facilitation, something to take note. You look at the plus minus, both could improve there. But I think what you said with regard to all gas, no breaks, fun to watch, important in certain parts of the game, and if you're trying to set a little bit more of a cadence, especially for a young team, sometimes you have to get them comfortable with slowing down or redirecting. It could be why, and Tammy is agreeing with what you just said, it could be why you're seeing more Heidemann. And I actually like that for Heidemann's development because she can be very speedy as well. And she's never really had to be the person for long stretches of time to settle a team down. And so I think you alluded to this, and I just want to reemphasize what you said, that from a leadership perspective, this is a good opportunity for Heidemann, and it gives Jade the opportunity to do what it is that she does. So I think, it's an early question. I think it's a worthwhile question, but it's not something that we're necessarily going to have an answer. And I do see this question about the developmental player. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but let's get back to this Storm team and where this team is through 3 games.
Yeah, I just cooked the Minnesota and Dallas games, 13 seconds to go, 88-86. It's
who's leading?
Minnesota, Paige Beckers just missed a free throw. Also, why have teams been missing so many free throws?
Well,
This has been so. I think that I've never seen so many teams collectively miss that many free throws.
Slim talked about that after the Seattle game in the Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's something about the rims, something about the basketball, because that's what we heard in the NCAA, right? They changed things and all that stuff. So really interesting. But we want to talk about the Storm through 3 games. And then I do want to talk about the developmental roles. I will say, I say this in Slack all the time. Gonna put a caveat out here. Anything I know about developmental players is only what has been reported in the short form version of the CBA, or what I am asking, or what other reporters are asking in media availability. Because you know what we don't have? Even though the CBA is officially ratified, we don't have the hard copy. The long form print is not available. And listen, I get it. Everything was happening at lightning speed. I'm going to tell you what. Working without a contract don't seem like a smart thing to do to me, but I digress. Let's talk about the Storm.
Let's talk about the Storm through 3 games.
Through 3 games, 1 win, 2 losses. They're 13th in the standings right now. I'm just going to run through some stats and then we'll talk about them, because there's already some things that we've talked about that you've mentioned specifically, Huerta. So 80.7 points per game. That's 11th in the league overall right now. Again, it's super early. 44% from the floor. That's 8th in the league. 38.2% from the arc, which is 3rd. And I like that the front court players are dropping them down as well. 16 assists per game, 13th. So the ball is moving a lot this season. 16 assists is on the low end for sure.
Yes.
33.7 rebounds per game. That's ranked 10th. And then 16 turnovers per game. And that's one of the things you mentioned. That's 6th most in the league right now.
Yeah. So we do see 2 losses, 1 win. And I think that a key factor that, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
And yes, Flau'jae got to shut down the ball on defense. I have noticed that stopping the driver, not letting the offense of the opposition get into the paint, a little bit of a challenge. But yes, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you and everyone being here, but we certainly appreciate the super chat. Excuse me.
Yeah, so I think that one thing that really plays a role and that really needs to be mentioned is the schedule setup that the Storm has early on this week. And we're talking, so far the Storm has played, they have played the Golden State Valkyries, Connecticut, and Toronto. Yep. Of those, the only team that's going to make the playoffs are the Valkyries. I don't believe Connecticut and Toronto are making the playoffs. So I think that the teams that the Storm has played so far are about the level that we are expecting the Storm to play this season. I don't expect the Storm to make the playoffs, and I don't think that's hating on them, because it's just, we're talking about a new team, that's not, I'm saying that just taking the other teams into consideration. So we have, I said that in the post-game video that we posted online after the first game against the Golden State Valkyries. The Storm lost, but they didn't disappoint. And that's the sense that I am having with all of these past games. I don't think that the Storm has been playing in a disappointing way. They have been learning, and they have been going through those growing pains. Right now, I believe that the growing pain that hurts the most for the Seattle Storm are the turnovers. I think that this is what is going to get them in the long run. And I think that this is what they're feeling right now. So through the first games, I believe that we still have I think that the Storm still needs to be fully tested against the main teams. And we're going to talk about the upcoming games. They are going to be tested against the first contender. I still don't know if I see the Fever as a contender, but they are going to play the Fever, not this game, but the next. So that's when we're going to see how their game fares against a contender. And I think this is going to be the first big test. So we have seen a team that is meeting expectations, I would say. I don't think the Storm is failing, even though they lost, even though they are 2-1. I think that they are meeting expectations for the team that they built and for what they have been telling us. This is what we can expect from this team. It's a learning curve season. It's a trial and error season. And we have seen that a lot. I see the turnovers as the errors to their trials. They are trying to play with speed. They are trying Natisha Hindman as a starter and Jade Melbourne from the bench. So this is what the Seattle Storm has been. This is how they have been doing early on. Now, we have seen some of they have been relying a lot on pick and rolls. I do see that happening big time. And this past game against, who they played against again? Against Toronto.
Toronto, yeah.
We saw them really trying to get to the bigs, and they had to rely on them, on Stephanie Dawson and Dominique Malonga. The other game, they relied more on guards. So that's what we are seeing with this team and what they're trying to build. It's again, I think this has been trial and error start, which is exactly what I expected. And to be very honest, that's what I've been wanting for the Storm since they lost Sue Bird and Brianna Stewart. I think that that game, that season following the 2023 season, they should have gone with a rebuild, but they didn't go, and then it started ebbing and flowing with the following years. I feel like this year they are finally building on the future. And for those who come here from Gotta Get Up podcast, the New York Liberty just started playing right now
trying to get their lick back on the Portland Fire, man. Sarah Ashley Barker.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
What I was screaming. Box out.
Yes.
Box out. Just box out.
Another crossover. The first wins, and I don't know if we were planning on saying that eventually at some point in this episode, but both the Fire and the Temple had their first wins, and both of those wins were against Black Rosy Media Network podcasts. So you're welcome.
You won't hear me saying much bad about Sandy Brondello. So
yeah, and that's another thing about this Toronto game. There was this crossover that Sonia Raman used to play under Sandy Brondello. So Sonia Raman said
coached
that
with New York last season.
Yeah. So Sonia Raman said that she and Sandy were able to go out for coffee. And,
they met them.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Sonia seems to have a lot of love for Sandy, and it seems to go both ways. But yeah, that Toronto team did. I'm on the Toronto Temple hype buzz, and I think it's because of Marina Mabrey. I think that Marina Mabrey she has always been underrated, and I feel like she's finally being valued. So
I love that. And honestly, I know Connecticut will be Houston soon enough. Whether they will be the Comets, to be determined. But officially ratified by the Board of Governors, Adam Silver and all his cronies. I mean, owners. I
had a couple sips of Bourbon, I don't know how much I should talk about the NBA and WNBA Board of Governors because
It's not the, and remember, it's the them NBA. They don't like it
the
being the
NBA,
MNBA
yeah,
because, we can't call a men's league, but
yeah,
whatever.
I don't want to have my credentials revoked. Refrain
But
from any comments.
listen, and yes, we will talk about some WNBA storylines a little bit later in the show, but this is a Seattle Storm team, like you said, was probably overdue to have a reset. That being said, when you have players like Neko Ogwumike, Skylar Diggins, and Gabby Williams who want to come to Seattle, I don't think you say no to that either. It didn't pan out. We're immortalizing those years in our intro. But
Yes.
It was tough. It was tough when it comes to being able to make it work and trying to hang on to a legacy that sometimes you know what they say if you love something, let it go, and if it comes back, it's yours. So
don't want to live in the past.
We have to see what's happening there. But something else I wanted to talk about with regard to this team is the top scorers. Well, it's Malonga. I love that. Malonga is in the top 5 squarely of minutes per game. She's also leading the team with 16 points per game, small sample size, 26.6 minutes per game, and 7.3 rebounds per game. Already talked about Melbourne. 14 points per game in 24 minutes per game. That's the 5th most on the team. But you've talked about this before. It's a fast-paced team. They want to play fast. We've had clips of Sonia Rahman talking about that. But the learning curves are the turnovers. Fouls. Now, fouls is also something I talked about on We Need to Talk Now. Coming into this season, in the off-season, some of the coaches and other executives were a part of a task force on officiating, and we kept hearing this term freedom of movement. Cheryl Reeves said she liked the conversations. She was heralding the conversations on the national media call, and then the Lynx lose. I think it was to Atlanta, and Cheryl Reeves is going off about officiating, and people were like, look at Cheryl after a loss. And I was like, I see what you're trying to do, and Cheryl Reeves definitely believes in theatrics, but that doesn't mean she's wrong.
No.
As a matter of fact, overwhelmingly, I would say roughly in the 75 to 80% category, especially if I'm able to put my feelings aside, because I didn't like. If we're talking 2024, I can't listen to Cheryl Reeves. But other than that, usually I agree with her. The fouls. Sandy Brondello talked about it. Brianna Stewart talked about it. Arike Ogunbowale has talked about it. There's this switch from perhaps letting too much physicality fly to now these ticky-tack fouls.
Yeah.
Jonquel Jones turned around and Sonia Citron, who's clearly shorter than her, happened to be beside her, and they called that a foul. And I'm just like, come on. Listen, now JJ does throw elbows. I will be the first one to let y'all know this was not one of those things. She literally pivoted, and Sonia Citron happened to be there, and it was a foul. So I think, the fouling we have to take with a grain of salt. Yes, overwhelmingly, early returns are, because of the youth, which we love, of the Seattle Storm team, they have to be more disciplined. I think we can say that. I think what's also true is, how is this young team going to learn how to navigate discipline when across the league we're hearing that officiating has maybe overcorrected from going to maybe letting too much physicality go to now kind of ruining, if as Stewie has said, the flow and the pace of the game. That's going to be really interesting for a young team, and a team, we just talked about Jade Melbourne and how she's all gas, no brakes. That's one of my favorite sayings. But a team that wants to play fast, a team that's young and still very much learning each other, but also learning the WNBA game, for them to come up in a season where already early returns are that the officiating is maybe overcorrecting. I'm very curious if and how that's going to impact the Seattle Storm, especially early on.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that the players with the highest average of fouls in the Seattle Storm are true of the most veteran ones on the team, who are Stephanie Dawson and Atisha Heidman. And we did just recently watch a game in which Stephanie Dawson got into foul trouble. We also we have seen Dominique Malonga and Flau'jae Johnson also get into foul trouble very early. Officiating has been a problem. It has not been consistent. I gotta say that, some people think that I'm biased when I speak about Camila Cardoso because she's Brazilian, but and I've always kind of like tried not to take the comments about the refs having a different whistle for her in fouls, but I decided to watch the Sky Games a little closely this year. And they do officiate her different. She is someone who attracts a lot of defense, and that people have to guard very heavily and very aggressively because she's very dominant. So it's the case of you seeing two people on top of her, almost climbing on her, and them not calling her. And then when she's on the other side and she does this, it's a foul. And I do, if I'm not mistaken, there was a case in which she spoke in Portuguese, and they gave her a foul. So
oh my goodness!
Very early on, I remember that case because people were talking about it a lot. So I believe, and I know that people might take this with a grain of salt because I'm Brazilian, and but I do think Camila Cardoso is. I think that if you want to see the inconsistencies of officiating in the WNBA, you should watch Chicago Sky Games and pay attention to how Camila Cardoso is officiated. And I think that when you look at the Storm stats, you are going to see Stephanie Dawson, Atisha Heidman, and then I think it's Jade Melbourne and Dominique Malonga. Stephanie Dawson and Atisha Heidman, they're veterans. Maybe they are. I think that they should know. I don't want to say know better because I think it's a little rough. But I think that maybe they are dealing with some of these changes in the inconsistency that you see with officiating in the league. Now, Jade Melbourne, the reason I think that her speed is the main factor to why she fouls so much. Dominique Malonga, she's young, she's tall, she's finding her way in the paint, and she's playing a position in which she has to be aggressive in order to be dominant. When she's playing in the paint, especially in this league, she has been playing mostly number 4. She does need to find her footing when it comes to guarding bigs in the league. So I think that that's what's causing that foul. But I know that she's trying to find her foot in that end. She is the Storm's main scorer. And if they're trying to give her that sort of leadership role, if they're trying to give her the responsibility of leading the team in scoring, she also needs to be responsible about maintaining that scoring on the court. I think it was the first game and the second one that she left very early with 3 fouls, like before halfway through the second quarter. And I gotta say that I saw this with Flau'jae Johnson and Dominique Malonga. And I make the comparison with Camila Cardoso because in Camila's first 2 games, she also had to go to the bench because of very early foul trouble. So I think that bigs have a harder time with managing their fouls during the game because this is a league that's very hard in the paint. You have to guard them. You have to guard players very rough, in a very rough way. So we're talking about Camila Cardoso and Dominique Malonga defending Jonko Jones, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier. And those are younger players who are dominant physically and in their skills, but they are still not dominant with their ears and in the details. You have to know the intricacies of succeeding in this season. And I feel like for Camila Cardoso and Dominique Malonga, that's what they are learning. And because they are being aggressive and they are going to the basket and defending those players, in a very active way, they are gathering those falls. And
yeah, I think for me, Camila, she reminds me of almost like this hybrid of like a Jonquel Jones and a Brittany Griner. Jonquel Jones in that I think she struggles not only to figure out how she's being officiated, but I think she also struggles at times to adapt, if I'm being honest. That's the JJ in her. The Griner in her is that I think sometimes her answer to those frustrations is to maybe dial down almost to a fault her physicality. And so she almost disappears at times because she's tired of having to negotiate through how she's going to be officiated comparative to people who are not her size, which is a lot of people in the league. So that's an interesting one, but I think it's just going to be interesting to see how the Seattle Storm as a unit, and it might be something that, you know, we have to ask Sonia Rahman, especially knowing that, again, super early in the season, but it's already a topic of conversation because of the task force and the like. So I'm really curious. So Craig's saying, I kind of like the Portland Fire. Is that weird? I mean, listen, do what you do. I can't speak for the Pacific Northwest. I just know I grew up in New York City in the tri-state area, and it would be extremely weird to say you're a Yankee and a Mets fan. I don't know why people do that. Like, there's a whole generation of people who think that's cute now. I could never.
I want to
never.
Yeah, there's one thing that I want to say about officiating is that the Storm is playing a team, not this game, but the other, in which we know that officiating is different from them. And I have seen every single team, every single player call out officiating and call out inconsistency. And I also have seen, and I was watching that game, I watched one player of one team kind of like congratulating the ref for their work and saying that they are doing a good job and doing things. It's one player of one team, which I am not going to mention because I've had some sips of bourbon, but that stood out to me. And specifically, it made me very upset because I am very hesitant when talking about that player because it attracts a lot of unwanted things. But I do think it's relevant to the officiating conversation that while everyone is calling out the ref and expressing concern about inconsistency, there's one player of one team that's saying that they are doing a good job, basically. And she has been caught on camera with very clear flops. So the Storm is playing this team in 2 days. I am the Sports Center. So I think this is relevant to the WNBA officiating conversation because this is something that has inflicted the league in a way that makes it unattractive to watch certain things and certain games. So
Oop, I'm out of drink. I guess we got to finish the show now. Bye. No.
So I do think some players are officiated differently for the worse, and that's Camila's case. And I think that some players are Tammy's comment. And I think some players are officiated
today. I knew I needed popcorn today
for the better. And I think that, you know, it's unfortunate because I've been paying attention. I think that this specific player, she is one of the most exciting passers to watch. I'm going to say it. You know, I'm just going to say it. Caitlin Clark is one of the most exciting passers in the WNBA. And the officiating part is frustrating because we want to see parity and we want to see equal opportunity of play, and we're not seeing that. And the fact that she positively brought out refereeing in her last game, whereas the rest of the league and everyone is frustrated and upset, in my case, it means something. And that's not, I'm not talking of her character or anything. I'm just saying that this is a fact. Everyone is complaining, everyone is worried, and she was congratulating them. So this for me is concerning. So I thought that this is important because we're seeing Dominique Malonga, a very tall international player. In my opinion, international players are officiated differently. In my opinion, Camila Cardoso is officiated differently because she spoke in Portuguese with a referee and got a foul. So there is a lot that need addressed. And the difference in which that we see with someone's speech and everyone else's speech, that's it. Cheers.
Well,
And that's a storm for 3 games. Hey, we talk the hard stuff here. We keep it real, you know, and honestly, this is basketball talk. This is not off the court talk. This is basketball talk.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I was joking around. Also, I told y'all this is really good popcorn, so it gave me a prop. But I mean, no lies detected. It's a very, I hadn't made that direct connection, but as you saw, I got extremely uncomfortable when you brought all of that together. It's not surprising, unfortunately. And is anything going to be done about it? I don't know. And like you said, there's a lot that goes into making observations around that player and that team that go beyond the X's and O's of basketball.
Yeah.
And I mean, but this is a league full of extremely smart, extremely what is the word I'm looking for? Just like extremely tenacious athletes, coaches, and staff. And I'm gonna trust in that. And that
and
accordingly.
And we're talking about WNBA news.
I'm in here. I'm just like, because I'm not going to touch that too much right now. But yes, Caitlin Clark did get teed up. I will say also, I need to look back at that because I don't know exactly which instance you're talking about, but I also do feel. But I do feel that there was an instance where she was talking about officiating, and I find her delivery, sometimes I'm like, is this sarcasm? Is this just, I don't know. So but I need to look back at it. I think my read at first was maybe we're dealing with a little bit of sarcasm, and I think, I don't know. I need to look back. I need to look back at it because, well, it shouldn't be that hard since this team has all 44 games on national TV. So it shouldn't be too hard for me to, on any of the numerous streaming apps that I have, minus apparently Prime, at least for now.
I just told you about my Prime situation.
I should be able to catch them. What was my drink? My drink, thank you for asking. I had some vodka with it wasn't homemade. It wasn't my recipe, but it was a small batch made of grenadine, like natural grenadine syrup that then I mixed with a nice little kombucha situation. So basically I had a hard kombucha. What I really wanted to do, I just didn't have enough time. See, now you got me into my like soft space. but I like making my own hibiscus syrup. And if I had planned it out better, I would have had my hibiscus. See, I have my hibiscus syrup I'm making tomorrow, but I would have done hibiscus syrup with La Gritona is my favorite tequila right now. La Gritona, so good. Comes from, a distillery and a company that is woman-owned, beautiful glass bottles. And then I would have used my hibiscus syrup to make a hibiscus margarita. We'll have to wait for the next stream. Also, La Gritona, if you want to send me a bottle, just like Maker's Mark sent a bottle, I'll be fine with that. But that was my drink. Thank you for asking. This popcorn is so good. But I think officiating, and is there an overindulgence? Is there an overcorrection when it comes to a particular player? Well, I mean, Charters came out of nowhere right before her first ever WNBA game. So there's that. But anyway, we digress. We're going to get to our questions and comments. So I think we got through a lot, but not everything. There is a question that I held for our fourth quarter that we're going to talk about, and it has to do with development players. But if you have other questions or comments or things you want us to respond to, now's your chance. Put those in the chat before we get this wheel going. But we're also going to talk about the upcoming schedule for this Seattle Storm team. And you already alluded to it, but they're going to take on Indiana. That's the next team. And then we've been seeing a lot of almost like a la baseball as far as series. So we're seeing teams actually kind of stay in market, the away team, and play teams twice. We saw New York is doing that currently. They played Portland. This will be the second game in 3 days, right? And then the Seattle Storm also have that. So the Seattle Storm, they will be taking on, again, Indiana on the road. That's on Sunday. But then they host the Connecticut Sun on Wednesday, May 20th, and on Friday, May 22nd. And then they host the Washington Mystics on Sunday, May 24th, and Wednesday, May 27th. Now, we'll, of course, preview those games on our next episode. But, you alluded to this, taking on a contender, someone who we do think in the Indiana Fever, that has a real chance to be a playoff contending team. There's yes, we talked a little bit about Caitlin Clark, but Kelsey Mitchell is looking in phenomenal form. I picked Kelsey Mitchell as one of my early players to watch in the MVP race. I honestly think she always is in the MVP race. It's just so tough when A'ja Wilson is still A'ja Wilson. And then A'ja Wilson is also playing against Breanna Stewart, who is still Breanna Stewart. And
she's just on my screen here right now. Literally on my screen right now.
So a lot of people think it's a two-person race, and I get that to an extent. And I think absolutely we should pay attention and highlight the valuable in MVP, because Kelsey Mitchell has always been the most valuable player on the Indiana Fever. I said what I said, and the stats back it up.
Absolutely. I said that in 2024, and people came at me. I was like, Kelsey Mitchell is the best player in the Indiana Fever, and I stand on it. I think that's still the case, and she's always in the MVP conversation, the same way that Alicia Gray with the Atlanta Dream is always in the MVP conversation. It just happens that they're playing at the same time as A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart. And I think that what Breanna Stewart has shown early on is that she is coming for an MVP season. I think that, you know that better than me, but the Liberty has some injury issues that are perhaps cooperating to their current situation. I do think that they're going to come up. I do still have the Liberty to be the champion this year. But I think that I don't know if I said this in this podcast before, but I've said that in other spaces. Breanna Stewart is my favorite player. I think that she has been my favorite player for about I think she's been my favorite player for about 7 years. I think she's one of the most complete forwards in WNBA history. She reminds me a lot, and I know. There is an MVP story coming up, for Black Rose Media, in which I think that Breanna Stewart is the evolution of Lauren Jackson, and then Elena Del Don, and then you have Brianna Stewart. She is, for me, she's the embodiment of modern basketball. So I think that she's my favorite player to watch for a while.
I want to go back to the Storm real quick. Jeff, I see your question. Also, Stella Rose Red like the wine. I love it. And also, Mr. Cambuff, to answer your question, yes. What question? Sometimes the comments come in after we've already moved on to. I just want to make sure I know what you're talking about here, but we'll get to that. Seattle Storm. So putting aside Indiana, even though that's the next game, just for a minute, because I know we've kind of talked around that for a little bit, but they're going to take on teams that, again, are kind of in their catchment area in Connecticut and Washington, teams that are not likely to make the playoffs. But I do think that both Connecticut and Washington, like last year, will make things interesting. So what do you want to see, knowing the next three opponents are Indiana, Connecticut twice, Washington twice? What would you put up on the whiteboard for this Seattle Storm team to focus on coming into the next handful of games?
I think they should focus on efficiency and decreasing cutting on turnovers. I think that's what they should work on, and I think that the game against the Indiana Fever is going to give us an actual idea of how their fast-paced game is going to work in the league in general, because and that's not to undermine Golden State, Portland, and the other teams that the Storm played, but those are not the teams that you measure your level against this season. I think they are going to measure your level against Vegas, New York, Atlanta, Indiana, and even the Chicago Sky. But I think those are the top four. So I think that we're going to have the first real idea of how the Storm fare against contenders. And I think that this is going to be very important. And I don't know if this fits the answer, but I do think that we're going to see, I don't see them winning against Indiana. I do see a win against Connecticut. I could see a win against Washington. So I think that the next games are going to be, it's going to be interesting because you have a game against a contender, you have a game against the Connecticut Sun, which is probably not making the playoffs, and then you have a game against the Washington Mystics, which is a team on the rise that's definitely making the playoffs. And I would say next year they're going to be contenders. So it's a very interesting schedule because you're going to be able to measure the Storm in 3 different scales. And I think this matters because, like it or not, the Storm is at a level today in which they are not playing, in my opinion, they're not playing for a playoff spot.
Right.
So you have to see how they do against teams that are not playoff teams this year.
Yeah.
You have to see how they do against teams that are going to be playoff teams, but they're not the contenders. And you have to see how they do against contenders because those are different needs against each of them. So I like this next schedule, and I am very curious. I really want to see how they do against New York Liberty. I think that's the team I'm most curious to see how they do against.
Ooh. And we'll see, what New York is looking like. We saw them sign a developmental player. Seattle did. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But all right, Jeff wants to know, this was our big question. Do you think Flau'jae lost her starting spot? And hey, Mr. Cambuff says, to answer your question, yes. And the question, I'm not sure if it's related to Flau'jae or our overarching question, but should Jade Melbourne be starting? Mr. Cambuff says yes. Do I think that means that Flau'jae should lose the starting spot? No. I go back to, now I know she doesn't fall in the top 5, but she is an electric young superstar, potential superstar. I never like to guarantee very much, but I think she can be a potential superstar. And it kind of sucks because sometimes you just got to be trial by fire and you have to be able to learn. That's what I don't think Dominique Malonga got enough of last season. And, that's why I question what's happening with AZ Fudd in Dallas, because in order to be a superstar, you have to know the good, the bad, the ugly. And Paige Becker sure learned a lot about ugly last season. So but do I think Flau'jae should lose a starting spot? No. Do I see a world in which Jade Melbourne has maybe earned a starting spot? Yes. So does that mean then it's Natisha Heidemann? I don't know. But I do think that Flau'jae working through some things is going to be critical. Now, I wanted to get to a question because it's honestly a question that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. But we got this question earlier. Is there a reason that Seattle was able to pick up Taylor Theory? I'm hoping I'm saying that name right. It could be very wrong. I thought 2 was the limit for development players, and Tanaya and Grace are in those developmental spots. Now we know that Tanaya was definitely a developmental player, but I thought, and I could be wrong, I thought Seattle still had a developmental spot available.
They do. I think they're talking about Grace Van Slooten. Grace Van Slooten
Yes.
is not a development player. Taina Mayer is. So they did have they still had a development player. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't really had a chance to make a research and a deep dive on Taylor Thierry. It's funny because in French it's Thierry. Thierry Henry is the name of the soccer player that's famous now. Anyways, so I haven't done a lot of research on it. I haven't had a chance. But Gracie Van Slooten is not a development player. And I have to say, I am happy to see what I have seen from Gracie Van Slooten. I am actually happy to see what all of the Storm bench players are doing, which is something that we hadn't really had a chance to see last year. So I think it's cool that they brought an additional development player. I don't know if that's a sign that maybe I don't know. We do have. I have been wondering a lot about Ezzy, and she's going to. We still have to see how she's going to do with this team and how the Storm is going to do with her. I've been meaning to ask if there is any updates with her injury, which we don't know yet. And but yeah, I think that at the same time, I think it makes sense. I think that the Storm is trying to shift things around. They're trying to do different things from what they have done in previous years. So with the team not knowing when our farm is coming back, because it really depends on how Valencia does with the Spanish team. And this is
they
something
have another game on Sunday?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, it can go up to May. Oh wait, 13th has already passed, but it can go up to early June. So and this is something that you know very well with Gotta Get Up. That Leonie Fiber is also also pending on Valencia.
Yeah, and Raquel Carrera.
Yeah. So there's a lot that's on the line. I think that the Storm is being very smart of using both of their development player spots. Just something that Natalie Nakase had already said, and then I confirmed with the Storm PR. Every development player has to be needs to have their status reported ahead of the game, and that status may change up to 60 minutes prior to tip-off. I don't know. I can't remember. I've been meaning to look, but I haven't looked if that's also the case for regular players, if their status can change up to 60 minutes or closer to tip-off.
I mean, overall, I'll be honest. I feel like we're getting, as media, and perhaps even coaches, we're getting the parameters of the developmental players in piecemeal. I asked Chris DeMarco if the developmental players are you pick 2 and then those are the only 2 you have all season. That's when I learned that you can have a developmental player on your roster and then someone else can pick them up. Even
Yeah.
even if you don't waive them.
Mhm.
Developmental players can be poached.
Yeah. Even
So
before you pick them up. So if you waive a player and you don't pick them up you can't pick them up immediately, but another team can. So
well, and that's but
oh,
no, but that's what I'm saying. There's the wave process, but then there's when you have a developmental player, those developmental players can be assigned elsewhere, is what Chris
yes,
DeMarco made it sound like.
yes.
So that's wild to me. So again, I'm waiting to see the full CBA, the long form in writing, because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Is the developmental roster spot the 2 limit or can it be 3 spots? It's 2 developmental spots, period, point blank. Now, what I'm trying to find out is that a stagnant 2, like you have these 2 and even if they get poached somewhere else or if they make the 12-player roster, then you can't fill that again. So stagnant means you name 2 players or how I'm trying to describe it is you name 2 players, they're your developmental players throughout, whether you get rid of them, whether someone else poaches them, or whether they make the 12-player roster. Once they move, you don't get more developmental players. I don't know if that's the case, or if they get moved either to another roster or they move up in your roster, does that mean you then get to fill that developmental role again? You see, like I have so many questions. I wish I could answer these for you, but without the CBA,
Yeah, we
you just don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I was taking a look into the WNBPA website and I checked the CBA document they have there. It's still the old one. Like we have no idea. We don't know if charter flights are in the new CBA. We don't
They
know.
are ratified.
They are.
They are, as they should be, as they should have been a long time ago. But again,
Yes.
I digress. Yeah, so Craig is saying that once they're on your dev squad for at least 14 days, any team can pick them up, but they have to put them on the active roster. And see, like, yeah, again, that was the thing that we were waiting for clarification from Chris DeMarco on. And yes, thank you. I was confused. I thought the 2 spots were Grace and Tanaya, but I see today that we picked up Taylor. Yes, so Grace not officially named as a dev player. I wanted to come back to this because if you waive a player, anyone can pick them up within the I think it's 24 hours or is it 48? Because now I'm thinking of other leagues like the NHL. There's a specific window that you have to, if they pass, it's called clearing waivers, or at least that's what we say in hockey. If you clear waivers, well, in hockey, technically, then you're going to a farm system, but we don't have one of those. So I think this is their way of doing that. Anyway, but if you don't clear the waivers, like who didn't clear?
Valkyries did not clear the waivers for Kate Martin, I think, and then
that's correct.
The Sparks picked her up.
That's correct.
And then the Valkyries also did not clear for Marta Juarez, and I think Connecticut picked her up.
Was it or Phoenix?
Phoenix.
I was like, I think it's Phoenix. But here's the thing, which I also learned with the Suarez thing. You can be offered a developmental role, but you don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
So if you want, because with a dev player, and again, it's I'm getting it piecemeal. I'm a person, I just need to see everything in one place, and then I can absorb it. But when I get like things here, things there, it's just very confusing. But anyway, we'll talk more about that once we have it. I want to come back to something because you know how I feel about, perhaps, I think you know where I'm going with this. But here's the thing. We were talking about Jade Melbourne. I'll tell you what, when Awa comes, you know how I feel. If you have the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, 4, 5 pick, you play that pick. Mm-hmm. So now you have a situation where Awa is coming in. So you know me, if it's me, she starts. But then who doesn't start? And for me, I think that's also pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's why I made the comparison between the Dallas Wings situation and the Storm situation, because with the Storm, it's such a stacked front court, and it put everyone in such a difficult situation, because you have the number 2 pick of 2025, you have the number 3 pick of 2026, and you have Ezzy Magbegor. And then you have the number 7 pick of 2024, I think. That's Jordan Horston. So someone is going to have to not start. And someone is going to have to move a position of Ezzy, Awa, and Dom. If we want to move someone to the 3 position, that would have to be Ezzy. I don't think she's a true 3, but this is a Seattle Storm that's leaning heavily on positionless, while taking position into consideration per Storm coach. So this is a very interesting situation that the Storm has put themselves in, which for me, that's why I made a video on TikTok, and I saw that Black Girls in Media shared it, about how the Seattle Storm, the AZ Fudd and the Dominique Malonga situation kind of intertwine, which is like, were they their team's immediate needs? No. Were they still very high picks? Yes. Can they still be underdeveloped because of how the team is built? Probably. So I don't know if it's a much broader conversation, and that's going to derail us from the topic that we are discussing right now. But yeah, like it's complicated. The Storm is going to have that figured out. Someone is going to lose their starting spot. When Awa Fun comes back, she is the 3rd pick, and we're gonna want to see how she does in the league. You don't want Awa Fun to just be our farm, to just be a reserve. And maybe that's why she has chosen to stay with Valencia, because she's going to be able to play more there than she's going to play here with the Storm, considering the number 2 pick last year stayed most of the time in the bench. We don't know. That's voices in my head, not sources. So we, as journalists, that's what we do, right? We have things that we analyze things by what the past has shown us. So
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and then I just want to go back to developmental players, because developmental players are not hardship players, and we don't have like an injured reserve, really. We don't have a farm system. So the whole waivers thing, for those who follow hockey, if you clear waivers, usually you're going down to the AHL team. There's nowhere to go down to. And that's what makes this developmental player so interesting, because it kind of sounds like the NHL thing, but it's really not. Or I guess the them NBA does this too. I really don't know. With their taxi squad, I don't really know, because I don't follow that league very, very clearly. But what's interesting is that you can have developmental players, but there are stipulations of when they can and can't join the active roster. But like, for example, the New York Liberty has a developmental player that is also not available to them at this point in time. So they had to sign, before even the first game of the season, 2 hardship contracts. That's how Julie Van Loo gets on that team. Or if we're in the States, which we are, Julie Van Loo, but Van Loo is how you say it. Anyway, and then also Aubrey Griffin, right? So it's so crazy. And Craig, is a saint for being able to digest all of this in the comments. But for me, it's more confusing than it needs to be. And yeah, I think, I don't know. I just want to read. Have I said this enough? I want to read the CBA.
Me too.
Show me the CBA. Show me the contract.
Yeah, I've read both of the
Jerry Maguire. Like, show me the contract. Show me the contract. Show me the contract. I have reached out to the WNBPA to see if we can get someone on our programs, plural, to talk specifically about development players. So to be continued there. But We'll see, because I think it's something like, it's like, oh, that's cute that it's happening, but no one actually knows how it
Yeah.
works. Can someone ask Kathy for the long form? I keep asking, fam. I'm like, I want to know where it's at. I want to know where it's at. Well, we want you to know that we appreciate you joining us, and we have more coming for you. You might have noticed that we've been putting these out for you. I think this is the right one. I'm about to find out. Our upcoming schedule. Yes, that's correct. This is the upcoming schedule. Today, I made a little bit of a faux pas because I schedule our streams, and apparently my computer stayed on Eastern time, but I am not. I am no longer on ET time. So a little bit of a faux pas. Sorry if you tuned in earlier and we were not here, but we are here now, and we will be coming at you for the next the next two Thursdays after this at 6:30 p.m. East. Look at me. 6:30 p.m.
The vodka. It's the hard kombucha.
6:30 p.m. Pacific time. I've got too many time zones that I'm worried about. It's 6:30 Pacific time every Thursday. And if you can't find the schedule, look on blackrosymedia.com. We'll have it there. We usually post it also in the Women's Basketball Roundup newsletter. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do that. We have the Extra Possession, which is a mini podcast for paid subscribers to the Women's Basketball Roundup. And you're going to hear from Satu Sabali talking a little bit about her alopecia awareness, endeavor that she took on, and talking about her friend, but also a little bit about, moving on from Phoenix. She didn't give much away, but I did find her comments interesting. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the Women's Basketball Roundup, because our mini podcast is only for subscribers. You're only going to get access to either the RSS feed or the actual audio in your newsletter by being a paid subscriber to the newsletter. So go on and do that. So yes, we will give you more information on developmental players. We will give you more information on Awafam, because, we'll see where Valencia is. It also does impact the New York Liberty. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And listen, Roberta has a whole bottle of Maker's Mark to get through. So we'll see how quickly
Pride is coming.
We'll see. And speaking of we'll see, 90-86, the Minnesota Lynx hold on to defeat the Dallas Wings in Arlington. Right now, 39-37 New York Liberty at the half, trying to get a win over the Portland Fire. So, hey, I think this was a good show. Again, working on getting some clarity around some of these things that came through in the new collective bargaining agreement, and of course, how it impacts your Seattle Storm, who will be taking on Indiana as well. And so that Indiana game is upcoming, but they will also then have a 2-game series both against Connecticut and against Washington for the 4-game homestand. And Roberta will be boots on the ground and giving you everything you need to know for the Seattle Storm. And we'll talk about it on Thursdays, 6:30 Pacific time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Black Rosy Media. But for Roberta Rodriguez, who I didn't even have to kick off, not even once on this
stream. See? It helps.
There you go. The Maker's
It's not
Mark.
liquid, it's whiskey.
Oh my gosh. Between you and Moni, you see? And just like that, bye, Roberta. See ya.
Had to save it for the final moment. Boa noite, Craig.
I love it.
Funny, Craig. If you were in Brazil, people would call you Craig.
So is that different? I don't.
Craig. So for Erica would be Erica. Moni would be Moni. Craig would be Craig or
Craig.
Craig. If people didn't know it was Craig and only read their name, it would be Craig.
You know what we should do? Have you ever seen Latinos pronouncing
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we should do that. We should do
that. We
Blooming
should.
Dallas.
Yeah. We should read like WNBA players. I don't know if it would be disrespectful, though. I don't want to be disrespectful, but like I'm on Brazilians reading names.
We're gonna have you read, yes, Brazilians.
Like, yeah. So when I went, so just a very quick story time. When I went to Brazil in 2023, so I said I was gonna say I live in Seattle. I said Seattle. People started making fun of me. Like, oh, you live in Seattle? Because in Portuguese, it's Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Because of the T.
Money.
It's very, that's how Latinos would probably say it too. Ay, money.
Yeah. That's exactly like that. Yeah.
See, like you see, I got a little bit of. I might not be fluent, but
no, but you're Latina. You have your Spanish in you. Yeah,
that's it. It's there. Every once in a while, I'd be like, "Wait, what did you just say? Don't do that." And if I have to order food, like
a name that would be like Marina Mabrey, for example. We have the name in Portuguese, Marina.
See.
Marina. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Erica.
Jonquel would be Jonquel. In Portuguese, Jonquel.
So, and we probably say Jonquel.
Yeah. You have Marta Zargai.
Yeah, see, like the hard A is so uncomfortable. Marta.
So my name is Roberta.
Roberta.
Yeah, you say it perfectly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. So we're going to do linguistics on Tempestagi Talk. You already, say the phrase, because we did work this in, and you just do it naturally, which I love. But you gave us a phrase earlier. What was the phrase again from earlier?
Incisivo? For how
say it again.
Incisivo. Like incisive. Like she's very assertive. That's assertive. Incisivo.
Wow.
She's very assertive.
Incisivo?
Incisivo.
I like that better.
Incisivo. I love
Incisivo.
Yeah. And it's fun because, for my day job, I work in translation. So every day I learn new words because my editors at work are just such incredible people. So I learn new words in Portuguese, and my day job forces me to be better at Portuguese.
Oh, that's amazing. One of my mom's favorite words in Portuguese is saudade.
That there isn't a translation in English.
Saudade. Vai buscar que mora longe, sonho meu. Isn't that song?
Vai buscar quem mora longe, sonho meu. Yeah.
Vai buscar a saudade, sonho meu. Mas na liberdade, sonho meu. What is it? Numecel, a estrela dia, se perdeu a madrugada. Via sol e traz melancolia, sonho meu.
That's by Maria Bethânia and Gal Costa, two of the most iconic female queer icons in Brazil who were queer before it was cool, especially during the dictatorship. So
look at that. See, I didn't know all of that, but we grew up on that. Ventanilla. We grew up
Maria Bethânia.
See, that's the Latino. That's how I would say it.
She is the sister of Caetano Veloso, who is among the holy trinity of Brazilian MPB, Brazilian popular music. He was exiled during the dictatorship.
Ooh.
Brazil.
Now you're getting a history lesson.
Yeah.
Linguistics, history, a little bit of culture. I sang for you in Portuguese. There you go.
Look, Jeff said, "Me llamo
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey of like Jeffrey.
Not Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Sí, en español, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey in Portuguese would be Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. Oh.
Jeffrey. Yeah. In Portuguese, the syllable, if this was in Portuguese, the syllable separation would be W-E space F-R-E-Y. Yeah? Frey. That's how it would be.
Jeffrey. Oh, I see.
Because our
And
syllables are
Jeffrey.
dictated by vowels, not by sound.
Sí, en español you say Jeffrey.
Yeah. Frey.
Bloomingdale's. Okay, we gotta go now.
Yeah. It's fun. I love talking about this. Yeah.
This is fun. Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed, whether it's the linguistics, whether it's the singing, whether it's the drinking.
Basketball. Yeah, Julie was a special one today. It was a cool one.
All of the things. That's what we bring you every week here at Tempestagi Talk with Joveta y Erika. Muchas gracias. Y how do we say it?
Obrigada.
Obrigada, sí.
Boa noite.
Boa noite. Okay, boa noite. Adiós.